Don't ever, ever apply that product on your lower lash line, especially if you're in your 40s or above. It's going to make you look 5 years older. I've had a lot of you guys asking for this. This is the correct order of eye makeup for mature skin. So whether you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or even above, this is for you, because I'm going to show you how to do everything on your eyelids, from prepping through to makeup, through to the finished result. So let's start. Now, first off, I have nothing on my eyelids, and yeah, nothing at all. I've got foundation on everywhere else. There is no skincare on my eyelids, nothing. So as you can see, they're a little bit kind of like reddish, a little bit, I would say. Now, I just want to very quickly add, the skin around the eye area is the thinnest than anywhere else on the body. I don't even know how many times I've said that. I think I'm actually bored of myself saying it because I've said it so many times. I'm saying it because it is so important to understand that that skin around that area is very delicate. So be soft with it, be gentle with it. As we get older, that area is becoming thinner and thinner and thinner. So what happens there? Not only is it becoming thinner, you're also losing elasticity and volume there. So any kind of like plumpness that you had there is reducing bit by bit as we get older. So everything's kind of like almost shriveling up. It sounds awful, doesn't it? It's actually so depressing to even think about. But there are things you can do to make it look better, help firm it up a bit, and also just generally put your makeup on better in the right order in order for it to just make the best of the area, right? And it's hard. I feel like as you get older, it becomes harder and harder to make the most of those areas. I think what I'm trying to say is it becomes harder to enhance your best features, because your best features are still your best features, but they're not as good as they used to be. Do you know what I mean? They're not as vibrant, young, and youthful as they once used to be. So that's what becomes harder. It's really important to obviously look after the area. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Look after it and take into consideration everything that you're picking for the area. So your eye serum, your eye cream, your concealer, everything you're using needs to be really thought out. And it doesn't take long. And once you've done it, you don't need to think about it again. First off, we're going to start with eye serum. Now, why do I use an eye serum and an eye cream? I use an eye serum because it's, as I said, the area is so thin, right? It's thinner than anywhere else on the skin. And you'll notice, like I notice that I can see veins more and stuff. And like, you know, you can see like all the stuff underneath basically. What I want is to be able to look after the area and kind of give it what it needs, almost just like give it its nutrients, right? So what I use as a serum is the Prairie White Caviar Light Infusion Serum. Now this is really good for kind of brightening the area, and it's packed full of ingredients that are really good too. So what I do is use an eye serum like this. You can use a different one if you want. I use the smallest amount. It's not ever a full pump, right? And the reason I use a serum first is because that's really targeting the concerns that I have there, right? So even that was probably enough for the whole area underneath as well, but we're only working on the top area. But you pat it on, and because it's a serum, it just kind of sinks in, and you'll feel it as it sinks in. So what we do then is we let that settle down before we actually move over to the next step. I am getting annoyed with something moving around on my desk, so I'm just moving it. We let that settle down. Now what this is doing is it's kind of like adding a very ultra thin layer there that's getting to work on our concern, which for me is my dark skin there, right? And it's also just kind of giving it some food. It's just feeding it a little bit. Now, once that settles down, which actually doesn't take that long because it's a serum, so it sinks into the skin really well, I then use an eye cream. I personally like using this. It's an eye balm. The only difference between an eye balm and an eye cream is that it's a different kind of texture formula. So this is a balm texture. So it's a lot more less creamy, I would say, more balmy, it almost feels more waxy and more velvety on the skin. And I just like that finish better. This is my Drunk Elephant Ceramighty AF Eye Balm. It is very good for kind of like strengthening the skin around the area. I do alternate between this and another one, and I'll explain why in a second. I use this because it helps to just cushion the area and hydrate it and just strengthen the eye area. It's very hard for me to see any benefits from this. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I do feel like it gives me the most amazing finish. I love the texture. I love the balmy finish to it. Maybe it has strengthened the area, but it's one of those perks that it gives you that is really hard to see, if that makes sense. So the other one that I use now and again is the Then I Met You Snail Mucin eye cream. This is really good at plumping the eye area up. So if I feel very like it's very tired looking, then I use this. And it also has caffeine in there. It has some other stuff in there. It's very good. I quite like it. I'm going to put this one on. Tiniest amount. There you go. And then I pat this on. This gives a really nice smooth finish. I do really love this. I'm going to be honest, I love the way it feels. So, okay, now that that is done, I feel like I've taken a bit of my brow product off. I can see it right there. Probably going to come off more in a minute, to be fair. Okay, so I do that, and then I let that settle down. So what we've just done is prep the area. Now we're going to be focusing on priming the area. So this is actually kind of setting the tone for any eye makeup that we're applying. I know some people like using eyeshadow primers, and that's fine if that works for you, because I find that the people who end up using eyeshadow primers are usually the ones who are not so concerned about evening out the skin tone on the eyelid. If you don't need to even out your skin tone on your eyelid, go straight into an eyeshadow primer if you like, if that works for you. I personally need to even out the skin on my eyelid first before I move into eyeshadow. It's just a personal preference. I have redness and darkness there, and I like to even out the whole skin area. So what I do is I use a concealer to prime my lids. I get a lot of questions on this on my Instagram and also over here. So I hear a lot of people asking, like, what have I got on underneath my eyeshadow? Like, how did I prime? How did I prep the area? So we've shown you the prepping part. Now I'm showing you the priming part. So I get my concealer. I'm going to use my Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in Sand. I'm going to put this on the back of my hand. There you go. You only need a small amount. Very, very small amount. And then I've got my Beauty Blender here. So I've got my Beauty Blender ready. I want to spray this with something hydrating. Now currently, for mature skin, I'm absolutely loving this. This is my Anua Blue Dewy Spray. You can see I've already used quite a bit. I absolutely love it. You don't shake this. You can see all the goodness in here. It's pretty cool. You don't shake this at all. This is really good for hydration, but what I love about this is when you do spray it onto the skin, it doesn't leave your skin wet all over. It's so ultra fine. It's like it dries down immediately, but it still gives you the glow. It still gives you the hydration, and it actually helps your makeup last longer and not crease. I don't know what magic is in this, but it's absolutely amazing. So I spray this onto my Beauty Blender, which by the way, it dampens it to the perfect amount. And then I go into my concealer, which again, I use less of this because of this spray, by the way. So now we're gonna get this over the lids, right? We're gonna do a thin layer of this concealer. I'm gonna have to hold this up here so that I can see. Gonna have to go over my brows in a bit. That has primed the area for me. Just flip the sponge over and press it over it if you feel like you've got a little bit too much there. Can I just add, at this point, I'm usually very kind of like, don't look up, don't move around, get your powder on straight away because it's going to start creasing. Since I've been using this, it doesn't crease as much. And by the way, I have this whole other video on my other channel, by the way, that basically shows you how to use this to set your under eyes with zero powder. If you don't want to use powder, oh my God, you are going to absolutely love that video. So head on over there and check that out. So I've got a little bit of powder here because we're doing a whole eyeshadow look and we're using it on the eyelids. But yeah, haven't even taken the creases out because it didn't crease because that spray is so good. So now we're going to take this powder away using this brush, which doesn't have anything on it. If you wanted to, you don't have to use a puff. You can just use a brush and press the powder on, and that's it. Let's very quickly just sort the, because I've taken some of the brow product off and I am a bit funny about brows looking weird. So now that the eyes are primed, now we can move over to eye makeup. Now, I know you might have this question. What about if you're using a cream eyeshadow? You've just primed your eyes with concealer and then you've put powder on top. Can you use a cream eyeshadow? Because you probably always hear me say, don't use cream on top of powder. Over the eyes, you can. The reason being is because we're not using something which is not setting. So for example, when you use a cream eyeshadow, it's self-setting because it's not the same formula as a foundation, so, or a liquid blush, right? So a lot of the time when I'm talking about like the fact that you shouldn't put cream or liquid on top of powder, we're talking about a larger surface area here. I personally wouldn't recommend using a liquid formula on the eyes on top of powder if it's very fluid, or if it's a blush or something like that. I would stick to eyeshadows because eyeshadow creams are made in such a way that it doesn't kind of, it's quite a opaque formula because the color needs to come through, right? So you're not dealing with anything that needs a lot of blending. You're kind of patting it on and that's enough. When you're applying something like blush on top of, like a liquid blush on top of foundation, it ends up moving what's underneath, right? With the eye area, you're just mainly patting, you're not swirling it around. This is a liquid eyeshadow, so liquid cream eyeshadow, and it gives a really nice kind of shimmery look. Now I'm going for a very shimmery eye here because I feel like it actually looks really, really good on. So, okay, what we're gonna do here, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. One, you can actually paint this on and then blend the edges, or you can put it on the back of your hand and apply it that way. Now, what I wanna do is apply it to the back of my hand and apply it that way because I feel like it's going to be easier for you. So what we're going to do is get a brush. You want to get something which isn't too big. I'm going to use, let's see, this is the Charlotte Tilbury Shapewear brush, and there's two sides to this. I'm going to actually use the fluffy side to it. I'm going to get it into the product, sorry. You're going to now paint this on. If you were to apply this directly from the wand, you're going to get more pigment, right? By doing it this way, you are getting less pigment, but I feel like it's a safer option. We're going all the way over the whole lid. Going into the crease, but that's the last thing you do. You get it over the lid first. Then you're going to get a tissue. I've got tissue lying here. Go all over the tissue with the brush so it takes off all the excess. You're then going to go into the crease and just go over. Don't focus on going up. Just go over the crease so that you're softening the edge that you applied, like the edge that you've created. Then we're just going to drag whatever's left a little bit up and into the kind of that area, but not too far out. Now we've got a very soft color on the lid. Can you see that? So if you were to go over with the actual applicator, you're going to get a very strong pigment, which is great if you want that. But I just feel like when you're dealing with mature eyes as well, you want more of a kind of softer finish to the overall look, right? And plus you've got more control then. But because if you go in with the applicator, you haven't got as much control because you've gone in, you've touched your skin, and then you've got to work on trying to reduce what you've applied. So you've got to make whatever you've applied work. Whereas this way, you kind of like have more control, right? So then wipe off the brush, go into the crease to just soften the edges, and then that's it, right? So you can see, you can go over any areas that you feel that maybe you need more. And obviously you can do this with any other color. Use your finger if you need to lift any product up, if you feel like maybe you need a bit of help blending or you need to just remove some of the product. Now, personally, I would not go on the lower lash line when you have mature skin, just because I feel like it can all look a bit sunken in then, right? If you feel that you can get away with that, then go for it. But personally, I feel like you don't need to. Now, I just want to add something here, which I think is a really cool thing, and a lot of people seem to like this whenever I wear this. This is the, let's see if I can just take a picture of this and see what this looks like. It says, because clearly I can't read anything. So this is the Go-Go Cooling Shimmer Stick from Tower 28. I don't even know how you pronounce that. So yet again, I will just put that on the screen. I'm gonna grab this. This is like a really cool shimmer stick, and this color is amazing on dark skin tone like myself. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna add some dimension to the eye now. So now we've got this flat section, and it's a little bit sunken in because that's what dark colors do. We're gonna bring it back out again now. And by doing this, it's just gonna open the eye up. You're gonna see how this works. It's pretty incredible. By the way, this is genuinely so, it's a cooling stick. It's so cool. Then we're gonna use the finger to just pat that in. I'm going to go onto the stick like this with my finger and just go on the other areas. I initially like to just press it on with the stick because it gives me the location, like the placement. And then I basically go over with my finger to kind of like almost spread it out so that it's kind of mainly there in the middle to give me that dimension, and then it kind of slowly becomes transparent, so it's like a gradient effect, right? And as you can see now, it's completely changed the dimension of the eye. Amazing for mature skin. So whoever like says mature skin people cannot wear shimmer on the eyes, we're not listening. It's about how you apply it and where you apply it. There you go. Okay, now something else I want to do with this. Remember I said to you that I'd prefer not to apply the darker shade on the lower lash line? You can apply this shade on the lower lash line, but not all the way across, because that's just going to look really boring and weird and not going to do anything. We are going to use this brush here. This is my BK Beauty 207 brush. We're going to go into this product. I always like to just touch the back of my hand first to just make sure there's not a whole load. We're now going to just press it here, which is basically the beginning of my lash line. And this is going to basically open up the eye a little bit more. Just there. It adds almost like a little sparkle. It just opens up that eye area. There you go. Okay. Because don't forget, right? That's a Genius pencil, by the way. I feel like everyone needs one of those. Don't forget that you've still got to apply mascara, right? And when you apply mascara, that's adding depth down there because it's dark. So you're gonna get that. The problem I feel like a lot of mature skin people run into when they're working on the eye area is you apply darker eyeshadow. I'm not saying very dark. I'm not talking about black or dark brown. I'm saying anything that is darker than your skin tone, right? You apply that on your lid and you love it. And then you apply it on the under lower lash line and you're like, okay, that looks really good. Then you apply your mascara and you apply it on the lower lash line and immediately it takes it even further, right? So you've got to think about what the end result will be once you've applied everything. You have to remember that after you've applied each product, it could look great, but you have to think about what is it going to look like when I then apply that later, right? So that's the way to look at it. So we're going to go ahead and curl the lashes. There you go. And now we're going to add our mascara. I'm going to use my YSL lash latex because I actually really love this at the moment. And hope, you know, I really do hope you can see that even the dark eyeshadow that I've used, it's not actually that dark. And the reason being, if this dark, I'm just calling it a dark eyeshadow because it's out of the two eyeshadows that I've applied, it's the darker one. If this dark eyeshadow was matte, it would have made the area look a lot darker. But because it is a shimmer eyeshadow, it immediately doesn't look as dark because the particles in there are shimmer. So what happens is when the light bounces off of them, that's what gives it that effect. So it doesn't look as dark. The minute it is matte, it's going to look darker, it's going to look flatter. So in actual fact, I do feel like shimmer works really well for mature eyes if used in the right way. Now, what you could also do is use a flat, sorry, not flat, it is flat, but you could use a matte eyeshadow as your base. So the dark shadow that I used, use the matte one, and then go over with a shimmer like I have. I've used 2 shimmer shadows here because I really wanted to show you how you can use shimmer. I would say actually the first one is more of a sheen than it is a shimmer. Right, now we're going to touch the lower lashes and you're going to see it's going to finish off the whole look. And had I have applied that dark shadow on the lower lash line, this would look much darker now. So this is why I recommend not using a dark shadow on the lower lash line if you feel like it generally tends to make you look older. So there you have it, the correct order of eye makeup for mature skin. I really do hope this has made sense to you. I hope that you like this look. I hope that it has encouraged you and given you some inspiration to try something different. As you can tell, you can use shimmer or sheen eyeshadows. I feel like it's just a case of understanding how to use them, where to use them, and how much of them to use, right? So don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and also hit the bell button so you don't miss my next video. And have you subscribed to the beautybreakfastclub.com? It's an online publication. It's created by me. There's a new newsletter every single other day. It's like one day on, one day off, and it's all about beauty, wellness, mindset, health. And there's actually a lot of kind of makeup hacks, product reviews over there, some products that actually you see there before you see here, because it's so like everything is written by me every other day, so everything is very fresh. And also it's free to subscribe, but that gives you access to like a free newsletter every 5 days or so. But if you go for the paid version that costs you the same as getting yourself 1 coffee a month, that unlocks the entire site so you can read everything. But also what I think is really great is you can actually join the group chat on the platform, and that means you can ask me questions directly and I answer. And also better than that is that you meet all these other people on this community. It's going to be amazing. They send their pictures in, like people are really hyping each other up. I feel like it's what we need in like today's day and age. I feel like it's like that hype group. Everyone's so nice to one another. If you're looking for a really nice group of people that all love the same thing as you, I think you're going to love it there. So head on over and subscribe. And yeah, super excited for you to see the next video because I think you're going to love it. I'm going to love you and leave you and see you on the next one.